What's that saying about the dating pool? Well, as tough as dating is even tougher if you struggle with anxiety. Hi, I'm Jeanetta Garrison, a licensed therapist with a virtual practice serving residents of North Carolina and Florida. My specialty is helping high achievers and perfectionists who want the most out of life, but anxiety is getting in the way. If the thought of dating makes your stomach flip, and not in a good way, then this video is for you. In today's video, I'll be sharing 10 tips that will help you reduce your anxiety while navigating the dating world. But first, a few stats. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental health concern in the United States. According to NAMI, over 40 million adults in the US, that's about 19%, have an anxiety disorder. According to the US Census Bureau, approximately 46.4% of Americans in the US are single. That's 117 million Americans over the age of 18, including those who are single, never married, widowed, or divorced. So with numbers like that, you know there's gonna be some overlap between those in the dating world and those who are also navigating anxiety. So let's start off with our first tip. First tip. It's important to remember that there will be some level of nervousness associated with the dating process. That's to be expected. But there is a difference between anxiety and nervousness. Let's talk a bit more about that. First, think about that feeling that you had the morning before a major midterm exam. How did that feel in the body? Now think about that feeling that you have when you log out of work the day before you go on a long vacation. So when you sit and you think about those feelings and you remember what it feels like even in the body, there are some similarities, but they're different. That's the difference between anxiety and excitement. They're similar, but they're different. I like to think of them as siblings. And going along with that, that leads me into tip number 2. Check with your nervous system. Check with your nervous system when you're in the process of dating or even when you're on your date to really recognize what you might be feeling in the moment. Recognize the difference between unsafe and uncomfortable. When you feel that feeling in your body, in your nervous system, when you start to get those butterflies, pause for a minute and ask yourself, 1, what am I feeling? And secondly, am I feeling this because I am uncomfortable or because I am unsafe? If you are unsafe, do whatever it is that you need to do to maintain your personal safety, i.e. leave the situation. If you are uncomfortable, spend a little moment to become curious about that feeling. Become curious about, well, what is it about this scenario is making me feel uncomfortable? Is it reminding me of something that I've experienced previously? Am I uncomfortable simply because it is something that's new? Become curious about those feelings that you're having, because that's going to give you some information to determine what to do next. Tip number 3, name it. Simply name what you're feeling. You can even say to your date like, whew, I just got this wave of anxiety that just rushed over me. You never know. They might be feeling the same exact way, and you could have actually introduced a conversation starter. So it's okay to name it, because naming it also disarms it. Tip number 4, arrive early. Give yourself enough time to figure out location, directions, parking, traffic, all those different things without having the added pressure of feeling like you're about to be late to your date. So give yourself enough time and leeway to arrive early. This will also give you the opportunity to just take a beat before you meet the person and take a few deep breaths, kind of calm yourself down, relax yourself, and then go on and start your date. Tip number 5, wear something that you feel comfortable and confident in. This tip is not for the other person. This tip is for you. If you're worried about your shoes that are pinching your toes and, something not fitting quite comfortably, then how in the world are you going to be fully present and aware of what's happening with your date? So if you wear something that you feel comfortable and confident in, then your mind will not be distracted by your clothing or your shoes that pinch your feet. You get to focus all of your attention on just being present in the moment. Bonus, wear your favorite fragrance or a scent that is connected to a positive memory. Now, if you know me, you know I love anything that is rose oil scented. I actually have a few rose oil based perfumes that I picked up when I used to live in Bahrain, and whenever I wear them, they make me smile. If you're enjoying this video so far, take a moment to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which tip you're going to try for your next date. Okay, on to the next tip. If you struggle with making small talk or the typical questions like, where are you from? What do you do? Do you have any siblings? Just completely give you the ick. That's okay. Spend some time before you meet up with your date to just kind of brainstorm a few topics that you could go on and on about and that you actually enjoy talking about. And it's okay to weave these topics into the conversation so that it feels a bit more natural, like a natural dialogue, as opposed to an interview. The next tip number 7, don't be so focused on trying to get the other person to like you that you actually end up abandoning who you truly are and betray yourself in the process. It's okay to say no to something or let the person know if they said or did something that crossed the line. Dating is all about getting to know a person. And so if you're not showing up as your authentic self, then how are they going to get to know you? How will the two of you get to know if you are actually compatible with your true selves if this false representative self shows up on the date instead of the true you? So remember, just be yourself. Tip number 8, don't put so much pressure on it. Don't put so much pressure on it. The purpose of dating is simply trying to get to know a person with whom there is some level of romantic interest. That's it. If you're so focused on trying to figure out, is this going to be my person that I spend the rest of my life with on date number 1? That's a whole lot of pressure. And how in the world would you ever even be able to answer that question after just interacting with a person one time? It's also a really unrealistic way to measure compatibility. And it just puts so much pressure on the date, on yourself, and on the other person. So consider this question instead. Would I like to interact with this person one more time? That's it. Would I like to interact with this person one more time? If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, great. Trying to live in the future and living in the present is a recipe for anxiety. Tip number 9, be mindful of who you discuss your dating life with, whether it's with friends or so-called relationship gurus online. Be discerning about where you get your advice from. When you're getting advice, be discerning about what pieces that you actually hold on to and what pieces you let go of. People are going to give you advice based on their own lived experiences, based on their own fears, based on them and their perspective. That's why they even say, well, hey, if it was me, I would blah, 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 blah. So be mindful of who you discuss your dating life with. Kind of a related tip to that is if you are the single person in your friend group, all of your other friends are in relationships, partnered, married, sometimes there may be this level of fascination with the dating stories of the single person to the point where they are living vicariously through your experiences. And, It's your life experiences. It's not a telenovela. It's not the plot of a melodrama. It's your life, right? And so just kind of be mindful of the feelings that you have. Again, checking in with your body, checking in with your nervous system, the feelings that you have when you're sharing your dating experiences with different individuals, and what that feels like for you, what their feedback feels like for you. But again, be discerning of who you even decide to open up with. Every person's advice is not going to carry the same weight. So think about, is it necessary to share all of the ins and outs and ups and downs of every dating experience that you have with every single person in your friend group? Probably not. Probably not. I understand the excitement where you want to share when you have like, hey, I'm dating someone, I'm super excited about it, and you just want to share. That's perfectly normal, perfectly natural, and I encourage you to do that. But I encourage you also to be mindful of with whom you choose to do that. Okay. Tip number 10, if anxiety is getting in the way of you living a full life and doing the things that you want to do, such as date, consider talking about it with a licensed therapist. Perhaps the anxiety that you're experiencing is a result of a traumatic experience that you lived through, or something that was really painful, and the anxiety is actually your brain's way of trying to protect you and prevent that from happening, even though you're no longer in harm's way. So talking about it with a licensed therapist can be really helpful in removing those roadblocks. If you'd like to work with me to overcome these roadblocks, please visit my website, crowncounselingandconsulting.com, to learn more about me and my practice and how to work with me. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.